Hey, folks, this is Rebel Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Tornado Tony Pennicott.
Yeah, it's like Tom Vander. His crystal ball ready to go.
All right, well.
Got a big one this weekend, Tom, so I hope your crystal ball's ready.
Yeah.
You bet.
We got big MMA, big heavyweight boxing. We got the works. Last week I could have used the crystal ball. I stayed away from the main event, which was a big mistake. And, you know, I probably would have picked Cruz anyway. He was winning. But, oh boy, the kick heard around the world stopped that little fiasco.
Yes, sir. Oh.
I was thinking about it today, and I was, I came to the conclusion that they need to have a loser leaves town fight between Dominic Cruz and Frankie Edgar. They have surprisingly never fought yet. I don't know if they're friends or what, but it was a nice try by Dominic. He had his style working correctly, but I mean, he just has no power. None whatsoever. I don't understand it. I guess probably because of all the footwork. You know, you're moving around too much to ever get your feet set properly to land a punch that's going to cause a knockout. But I mean, I saw one of the funniest memes. It must have been from a superhero movie, because it was like the guy getting thrown like a good distance and rolling on the ground, and it was like they said, "This is every time Dominic Cruz got hit by Marlon Vera." Because, I mean, he was so good at dodging punches, but the ones he took all rattled him. Seemed like caught him off guard and almost put him down a couple times. And then, boom, fourth round, the head kick from hell, and it broke Dominic's nose immediately. You can see that in the footage. I don't know if you saw that replay enough times to see that, Tom, but I noticed it immediately. First replay, oh, he broke his nose. And then they showed him in the post-fight, you know, lineup, so you could see it was broken badly. Just one well-placed kick, and kind of reminded me of a hockey situation, believe it or not. An elbow thrown by one Leo McSorley was his name. Almost got him charged with a felony because it happened in Canada or something. The Canadians game, I believe, years ago. And I watched that clip 100 times because it was like, you know, with hockey, you can have a guy elbow somebody and, you know, it's not a matter of maliciously going after him, trying to cut him open or whatever, trying to break his head off the ice. It's just defense, you know. You just put your arm up and it's just like reflex. So this was a little bit more than that. He did it intentionally, but the guy skated into it at the same time. Like he was going full force, and he just turned just in time to see it coming and sorely put the elbow out, and boom! He was just like leveled in a vicious way. And, you know, it's like one of those hits in the NFL where you get a flag thrown immediately, and it's just because of the force of the hit, not because it was wrong. It's just because it looked bad.
Well, wasn't McSorley the one that also took like a hockey stick and used it like a baseball bat and cheap shot of the guy in the back of the head?
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah. He was a bad fighter.
He was a cheap fighter.
So anyway, yeah, this is what it was like, because Dominic Cruz, his defensive style is to move his body and head down and to the right. To his right. So when he did that and Vera came up with a kick at the same time, it was just like walking into a metal pole without seeing it. So yeah, there was no hope of him coming back from that. He took a couple extra punches too on top of that. But wow, it was so vicious. And then since I didn't pick Marlon Vera, he scored a lot of points going into the fourth round, and you know, getting that TKO. But it was one you had to have. There weren't a lot of TKOs in this one, coming off one that had a shitload of them. But the co-main event was pretty fabulous. I had Onama on a couple of my cards. Did not think to pick Nate at all, and he provided the shocking upset and absolute comeback craziness of the night. I did not like the fact that he was standing up and waiting for Onama a couple times and playing to the crowd like it was a fake WWE fight. Other than that, everything Landwehr did was just classic tough MMA goodness. But that to me,
Well, you got to
was a
admit,
mistake.
Rich, though, that it did work to put his name on the map.
Well, it probably helped him get the 50
sometimes
grand
you have to get
because he kept the fight going.
right.
But he could have got a TKO and still got
There's
the
going to
fight.
be a lot of people watching him in his next fight. You know, it was kind of funny when he turned his back on Onama, and that could have been a stooge moment.
Yeah.
Onama got up and, protect yourself at all times. Turn around, you idiot. No.
It was literally, I mean, there's points of the fight where the referee will step in and let a guy get up. And it wasn't even one of those situations. He literally backed off, starts raising up his hands to the crowd. I mean, it's just very...
They loved it.
The announcers liked it. They thought it was cool, but I'm thinking in the back of my mind, finish the guy. Like the Ultimate Fight, not the Ultimate Fighter, the Street Fighter. Finish him!
All I can say, I think he performed a masterpiece because the crowd loved it. I mean, they just set the place on fire. And Dana loved it. I mean, we like fights like that.
And then they made the decision, and one stupid judge gave it to Onama, said it was a draw.
Well, that's not worthy of a comment. But I think that I think his future's kind of limited here because he's 34 and he's still kind of a wild man. He had a lot of technical weaknesses, but I know next time he's fighting,
exhausted too.
I'm watching for sure. I mean,
he got his gas tank drained. He definitely could not afford the refill. Yeah, we had.
What was the saying before the fight? I do not negotiate with pain and fatigue.
Yeah,
That was pretty interesting.
Great. He's good though.
Yeah, he's a character.
And he definitely showed that he has just a wide-ranging game. He has all the skills that are there, and it's a lot of these fights lately are turning into a conditioning contest. If it gets to the third round, especially, it just happens more and more. And that's what this one was. I mean, Onama was literally exhausted. The only reason he lasted.
And our former guest, he trains with James Krause, our former guest.
Yeah.
He was well trained, but Krause was really giving him a dressing down between rounds. You want to keep going?
He needed it.
You want to fight? Boy, Krause was kind of upset with it. Do you want me to stop it?
Yeah. It just wasn't his night. I mean, he started off halfway decent, but then Landwehr just started figuring shit out, and he's got a pretty decent chin too. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, Onama seemed like he was a little drunk coming out from the second round.
Yeah.
I think he really. I think. And he was a 3-1 favorite. I just think he may have overlooked him, even though I don't think James Krause would have advised him to do that. But he'll be back. We'll see how he goes next time.
And then Yasmin Jaragui and Yasmin Lucindo fought to unanimous decision win for Yasmin Jaragui, and that was a pretty intense little fight there from some new young female fighters. And one of the good picks I had on both fight cards I picked this week, even though I didn't get any winning money, was Azamat Murzakanov. He got his TKO in the third round. Took him a little while over Devin Clark. But I knew light heavyweight, it was probably going to be one of the knockouts, and it was. 1 minute and 18 seconds into the third. And I had this one, the last card it was supposed to be on, but they moved it to this one. And I picked correctly because I had Cachoeira that time, and I picked her again this time. And she got the TKO 1 minute and 5 seconds in. So good job there. And then another Upset King special from Gerald Meerschaert. And it did not go how I thought it was going to go against Bruno Silva, because Silva came in as a striker and Meerschaert said, well, fuck you, I can strike too. At middleweight. And wow, turned the tide on Silva, had him taking steps back, and it did ended up being a submission finish for Meerschaert, which he's famous for, but took a long time because he literally kind of, instead of rope-a-doping him with the ropes, he rope-a-doped him with the style. He got him all confused and thinking he had to do an entirely different thing with his striking, because Meerschaert kept beating him to the punch and working combinations and moving around correctly to avoid everything Silva was throwing that was dangerous. It was just perfect. And I had to pick Meerschaert on at least one card, so I picked him on one and Silva on the other, and worked out on one card obviously all right, but I had a couple losers on the other card. I had the draw too. Damon Blackshear in the first fight of the night. I picked him, and he fought to a draw over Yusuf Zalal, so that didn't help me. It was really low scoring too. Josh Quinlan, I did pick correctly. 180-pound catchweight. He got a first-round knockout over Jason Witt. But Odie Osborne and David Onama, those were my big losers. And Bruno Silva on the one card. Odie got knocked out, just 1 second left. No. 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 1 second left. In the first round by Tyson Nam. Another situation where I should have gone with the name, the tough guy name, Tyson. Sometimes you just got to go with things like that. This guy's got a cool name. Battle was the last one. Should have gone with him. Got an early finish, and he was pretty cheap, I believe. Odie was a favorite, I believe, going into that one. But Tyson knocked him out. He had way more experience. I should have known it, but I thought flyweight probably not to be a knockout. But Odie was cheap enough. Seemed like he was going to win. But nope. And then the one I didn't fight, I stayed away from. Another fight, that lighter guys, lightweights. Gabriel Benitez in the fourth fight of the night. That was a knockout you had to have. He beat Charlie Ontiveros by TKO. 3 minutes and 35 seconds into the fight. And one fight I did pick correctly. It was a decision, though. Not the best way to score points in the FanDuel. Nina Nunes at flyweight beating Cynthia Calvillo by split decision. Nina was a heavy underdog. And she retired after the fight. She's going to have some kids. So she put the gloves down and did her final interview there as a pro. That was that. And another fight I picked correctly that was not a knockout, a heavyweight fight, Martin Boudet. I had him on both cards, but one of them I put him in the MVP slot, and it was only decision, so that really didn't get me enough points. But he beat Lucas Brzezinski by split decision. And then Angela Hill over Lupita Godinez by unanimous decision. That was a big surprise because Godinez was beating her pretty bad in the first round, and then Hill just came storming back in the second and third and figured out all her mistakes and just looked really good. So it was a good event. Very, very decent free fight for sure. Not going to be so free this weekend. But we've got quite the lineup for UFC 278. We also got Professional Fighters League fights to talk about from last week. Kamaru Usman against Leon Edwards in the main event this Saturday. It's going to be from Utah, actually. Kamaru Usman is 20-1, fighting Edwards, who's 19-3. And Usman is just so dominant. Edwards is kind of a safe fighter. He's a safe, mover, and tactical fighter. whereas Usman is a little bit more aggressive, but he can also play good defense when he needs to. So this is going to be interesting. Both have a little bit of history.
Well, I just have the feeling that it's one of those old cliches. Everything Edwards does, Usman can do better.
Yeah.
And
the 5-round
I'm not saying
experience
Edwards doesn't deserve it.
The 5-round experience that Usman has is going to really kick in, and
yeah,
I just don't see it for Edwards.
And
you keep it close for the first 3, maybe.
I just do not see a path to victory for Edwards.
But I think 4th round, Usman starts to close the show, and if it's not over by the end of the 5th, it's going to be a heavy decision for Usman. Edwards might make a game of it its first couple rounds, but I mean, I just don't think he has the power to put Usman on the mat. Could be wrong. Could be working his submissions and catch a rear naked choke by accident. You never know. Those things are never by accident. It's all about the training. But yeah, we're gonna see how that goes, and then the co-main event is Luke Rockhold back after a long absence, 16-5, fighting Paulo Costa, who's 13-2 at middleweight. And then, boy, this one's going to be a barn burner. Bantamweights, Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili. Aldo 31-7 at bantamweight. Dvalishvili is 14-4. And then we got bantamweights, Yanan Wu, 13-5, and Lucy Pudilova, who is 13-7. And we got another Tyson Pedro, 8-3 at light heavyweight, fighting Harry Hunsucker, who is 7-5. And he's a big dude. Marcin Tybura, 22-7 at heavyweight, fighting Alexander Romanov, who is 16-0. Those are tough guys. And, that one's probably going to be a knockout, whoever wins that one. Leonardo Santos, 18-5-1 at lightweight, fighting Jared Gordon, who's 18-5 as well, with no one draw. So that's obviously a great on-paper matchup. I don't know about the quality of their opposition. 6-5 tonight, Sean Woodson at featherweight, 9-1, fighting Luis Saldana, who's 16-7. And then we got Miranda Maverick, 10-4 at flyweight, fighting Shayna Young, who's 8-4. I wonder if Miranda was sponsored by Top Gun when it came. Miranda Maverick. AJ Fletcher, 9-1 at welterweight, fighting Ang Lusa, who's 8-3. The 4th fight of the night. 3rd fight, Amir Albazi, 14-1, fighting Francisco Figueiredo, who is 13-4-1. And 22-9, Quileng Aori at bantamweight, fighting Jay Parent, who's just 10-5. Quite the experience difference there. Alright, so first fight of the night, Daniel Lacerda, 11-3, fighting Victor Altamirano at flyweight, who's 10-2. We got PFL 9, 2022 playoffs coming up this weekend, but we got to talk about the fight that retired Rory McDonald. He walked away from the sport after his loss last week to a fighter not a lot of people have heard of. He's just 10-2, but he got TKO'd in the first round, 3 minutes and 59 seconds in, and that was enough for Rory to walk away from the sport. Getting close to the title in the UFC. Got the title briefly in Bellator. He started pretty early with the UFC too, and obviously had some wars over the course of his career. But Delano Taylor will be his last opponent unless he comes back from retirement at some point. And he is out of the tournament anyway, so season's over. But we also had some big heavyweights fighting. In the supporting bouts, Ante Delija beating Renan Ferreira by TKO in the first heavyweight fight. It was 4 minutes and 31 seconds in. And then Mateus Scheffel over Juan Adams by TKO in the third round. 3 minutes and 45 seconds into the third. Welterweight Sabadou Sai moves on against Carlos Leo Miranda. Got a unanimous decision win there. Nathan Kelly over Ben Ellis by rear naked choke. 2 minutes and 45 seconds into that fight. Lee Chadwick at light heavyweight over Primislav Misiala. Probably butchering that one. Error message here. Alright. Well, that was by decision, unanimous. Will Flory over Anthony Salomon. That was also a unanimous decision at light heavyweight. Lightweight Radu Maxim beating Władysław Barborek by TKO from a knee injury. 1 minute 15 seconds into their fight. Yeah, this must have been the unlucky part of the card, because we had an accidental eye poke right before the knee injury fight. Mokhtar Benkasi Francesco Nuzzi became a no contest at bantamweight. Lightweights in the fourth fight of the night, Josh O'Connor over Emran Sakizada by rear naked choke, 2 minutes and 56 seconds into the third. And then we had another rear naked choke, back-to-back chokes, so the same variety. Marcin Wolczyk at light heavyweight over Mick Stanton. And that one was in the first round, 4 minutes and 4 seconds into the fight. Chris Mixon before that at welterweight beating Christian Stigenberg by split decision. And then a unanimous decision win to start off the night. Simon Bajor over Ronnie Marks. We got another week of playoffs this weekend. I believe they started to do theirs on Saturday now. Last week was crazy because they started to do these PFL fights the same day as the UFC, and they're both on ESPN. So from like 2 o'clock until like 11 o'clock at night, we've got fights. So, I mean, I had to work Saturday, unfortunately. But
exactly. There's even a card in Glory Kickboxing, a very big card. So we've got lots of stuff to choose from Saturday.
Oh, and bare knuckle, too. Bare knuckle. Michael Venom Page is fighting Mike Perry from UFC. So, that's going to be crazy. Michael Venom Page as a bare knuckle fighter is scary just by itself, whoever he fights. But Mike Perry, I don't think he's going to stand half a chance. He's going to fight in the exact style that Michael wants. It's going to be interesting.
You know, a couple years ago when they first started, using all these apps, I think the first one I signed up for was pre-pandemic. It was 2019, I think. And I remember, I didn't understand it at first because I'm not the most technologically, sound guy. I mean, I'm decent, but not great. And I'm sitting there saying, apps. And I'm thinking, apps just for your phone. I'm like, listen, if I want to watch a fight, I want to watch a fight on my big-ass TV with my friends there, having popcorn, drinking beers, having some wings. I don't want to be watching a fight on my phone. And someone's like, no. But you got to get a Roku or you got to get a Fire Stick. I said, I don't know what they are. Then I went to the Walmart one day and I looked at the kid, and I've met him a few times. I said, listen, don't, I made a joke of it. I said, I know you can probably screw me over right now and way upsell me because I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, but I just need a simple thing that I can download some apps to watch some fights. The kid was really cool about it. He goes, okay, and he's explaining to me, and I said, no, slow down. You're talking to a moron here. And he laughed, and I said, here's what I want to do. And he explained how to use it, and I went back that night, and I hooked it up, and I got to watch the fight, and I was happy about that. So now, I remember last year, pandemic was starting to wind down. They were starting to have live fights again, where they were having crowds. The crowds were limited at the time, but they were starting to get live attendance, which was great. And I know the one day I was quarantined with COVID, and I was like, well, I can't go nowhere. But thank God they had a fight on like ESPN Plus. They had the whole undercard, and then they had another something went on like ESPN, and then they had a Showtime card. So I literally got to watch fights from 2 p.m. in the afternoon till about midnight. I was great. I couldn't go nowhere. I was like, well, thank God for these apps. Because the great thing about some of these apps is like, okay, say you're going to have a card, for argument's sake, say it's going to be on ESPN Plus, ESPN night. So at 9 o'clock, you're going to get a 2-fight main event card, and it can be whoever and whatever. But a lot of times these apps will show you the whole undercard. So the card on TV, on ESPN, on network cable may start at 9 o'clock. But you can log on and watch all the undercard fights at 6 o'clock. And I know the one time last year was great because Sonny Kanto out of was fighting on the ESPN Plus non-network undercard. So if I didn't have that app, I couldn't watch Sonny fight. So this is great. If you're a fight fan and you're like, hey man, there's an ESPN card tonight, but let me check and see what ESPN Plus is running. And instead of logging on at 9 or 10, you might be able to log on at 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And now you get a lot of these apps like DAZN will show a lot of cards from overseas. You'll have them from England, and I've seen some well, obviously not recently, but over Russia and Ukraine and all that, they'd have fights over there. You would get to see a lot. Sometimes they'd have fights maybe streaming from Germany. They had a Ukrainian fighter, like I know back in the day was the Klitschko's were doing that. Obviously, they were before the app craze. But this is great. For a fight fan, this is great. And I'm looking forward to the zone this weekend.
Yeah, you got a triple threat because
Rich, you going to Saudi Arabia for this one?
Oh, no. My private jet is in the shop. So
I'm sorry.
I can't get to Jeddah for that one. I need a Jedi Knight to get to Jeddah. No, but we've got DAZN, we've got ESPN Plus, and we've got Showtime cards this weekend that all have world title fights involved in the main event. But the big one is DAZN. They've got the blockbuster heavyweight fight here, the rematch between Alexander Usyk, 19-0, and Anthony Joshua, 24-2. And I looked at both guys' records before the broadcast, and I noticed something about Usyk that I don't think is true about a lot of fighters you see these days. What can you guess? Tom, can you see in your crystal ball what I figured out? Or Tony, can you guess what I figured out about Usyk that not a lot of fighters have done in their careers? From day one, I'll say.
Well, let me think on that. I'm going to say, and another one that's done it I know has been Michael Moore. When Usyk came up from cruiserweight, I'm sorry, I was going to say light heavyweight. I was going to say, but I think a two-division cruiserweight and heavyweight champion at Southpaw.
Well, he's also that, I guess, but that's not what I was focused on. Tom, you going to guess?
Wow. I mean, no, this is...
From day one, that's your clue. From day one, he's done this. If you look at his record.
Oh, man.
Wink, wink, hint, hint. Not a lot of fighters do this because they get... What is the word I'm looking for? Groomed? No. They get pampered a little bit in their earlier days.
Wow. Okay, the crowd is in suspense.
So Usyk has never, in his entire pro career, all 19 fights, has never fought anyone with a losing record. You do not see that one.
shit! Wow.
Not once.
Yeah,
And
that's almost unheard of.
And he's given a bunch of fighters their first losses.
Wow.
Anthony was the second one because of Ruiz. But, yeah. I believe Usyk has what it takes here. Joshua has to knock him out. He has to just overwhelm him and first 6 rounds get that knockout. Otherwise, Usyk is just going to buckle down and take control. That's my outlook. I'm sticking to it.
You know what? I know it must be a British thing. It must be a British saying, because I saw a headline the other day where Joshua said he's going to smash him to bits. And I know Fury says that all the time. I'm going to smash him to bits. You know.
Good luck.
But looking back at this, when they had their first fight, I didn't get to see it live because I was down the shore that weekend for an event. My dad was texting me up, and he was like, "Oh my God!" He goes, "This is the best of the round." He's like, "Joshua wouldn't have lasted." He goes, "He went with the bell, and Usyk was getting stronger." I think Usyk is the mentally stronger fighter, and I think that's going to be the difference here. One of the things that when Usyk was fighting at cruiserweight, now he's considered a small heavyweight, but he's a small, very physical heavyweight. He's a guy that may weigh like 210 pounds. I forget what he weighed for the first fight. It might have been 215, where I think Joshua was like 240. But he's a guy, like, he may weigh 215, but in the ring he feels like he's 240 or 250 because he's so physical and he's so strong. And I know it was that term, someone always say, and I remember it from one of the early Rocky movies, I think it was Rocky 3, when he's fighting the rematch with Mr. T, and he comes back to the corner for the first round, which Rocky dominates the first round, but he goes, man, he's strong. And I remember Duke saying it when they were watching the clip, man, he's strong. I never understood what that meant till I got in there with somebody that I felt was, I mean, like, this guy made him weigh 160 pounds, but he felt like he was 2 pounds. And it was like you backed up when they came forward. They'd throw a jab, you'd block it, and it backed you up. It was thumping, it was thudding, it was physical on the inside. And that's what I see Usyk being.
Yeah.
And being in tremendous condition. He's got a good chin. I mean, now granted, he's taken some shots, but I've never really seen him hurt. Joshua has been hurt. He's been knocked down. And you figure, I mean, he escaped the Klitschko fight.
I get the feeling that Joshua is in a position, too, where the last 4 or 5 years of his career have not been enjoyable for him. Like, I don't think he wants to fight.
Well, you go back to that Klitschko fight.
Yeah.
Which was 2017. I mean, he was doing so well early, had Klitschko down, and then he got hurt. And it was like, if Klitschko would have stepped on the gas in that 6th, 7th round, he may have taken Joshua out. And then Joshua recovered, and he knocked out a 40-year-old Klitschko.
Yeah.
You go to the Ruiz fight, and he has Ruiz down, and then he gets hit, and you could see, like, not only did he didn't have confidence going into that fight because of the the doubts on his chin, and Ruiz brought it to fruition. So they fight the rematch. Ruiz comes in out of shape, and Joshua played it safe. He played like, I don't want to risk this again. That Usyk fight, Usyk, basically took him behind the woodshed, gave him a whooping. And I have a feeling this time he's going to stop him. I think Usyk's going to, get to him early, and as soon as Joshua gets hit that first time and he gets hurt, I think that doubt's going to creep into his mind again. When he fought Ruiz the second time, he played a very, very safety-first, cautious fight, and he was the benefit of a guy that came in tremendously out of shape. Usyk's not going to come in tremendously out of shape. He's going to come in tremendous shape. And the only thing that is a wild card here is the fact that Usyk impacted by the whole situation in Ukraine. Because remember, gone back to Ukraine to also defend his homeland with the Klitschko brothers and with Lomachenko and all that. And they told him, no, you are best helping us by defending your title and, you know, basically making us proud. But at the same time, like, you've got to be thinking of the people in your homeland. So is that going to, you know, keep him, you know, a little bit out of focus?
Well, I think it's going to help him, Tony. He's got a point to prove. And let me ask you guys this. Who's the more technical fighter between the two of them? What do you think?
Oh, definitely Usyk.
I think Usyk. I mean,
right. Okay, so what is the adage? If it's more of a puncher against a technician, the first time around, the puncher should have the edge.
Joshua has an 84.62% knockout rate.
Right. Okay. So the point being,
so he needs a knockout.
Time around in this case, the technician won, and I don't think Joshua has the toolbox to make the adjustments. I mean, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it. Is just Usyk is, like Tony said, you know, he's together mentally, and Joshua, you flash back on that Ruiz fight. And when he got knocked down, he didn't look like a fighter. Ruiz did that first time. And that, I mean, Josh was looking to his corner. Well, no. Just come in and help you. So I just think I'm going with you guys. I think, and still, would be my prediction. And still.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I'm looking at...
That starts at noon. Doesn't that start at, the card starts at noon? Is it?
Oh, I believe it.
Because it's over in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, but that would so we've got a few fights before that. So it'll probably be what?
Then there's a PFL fight
in the afternoon.
as well, same day. We're going to go through that later. That's actually from the UK. So it's going to be so many fights on Saturday. It's ridiculous.
And then bareknuckle Michael Venom.
Yeah,
wow,
on top of that.
What a day.
Anthony Joshua, by the way, started his career with 20 straight knockouts. A lot of people forget that. 20 straight knockouts or TKOs. And then he ran into, guess who? Joseph Parker. 24-0. And he won a wide unanimous decision there by 10 points on one card. 8 points on the other two. That was his first unanimous decision. Joseph Parker, back in 2018. And then Povetkin, he went back to the knockout. And that was it. He's been one other knockout. Kubrat Pulev, back in 2020. He's been going to decisions a lot since the TKO by Andy Ruiz. Povetkin is the only one Pulev is the only one he's knocked out since then. That was the ninth of 12 rounds. He was down in the third round and also twice in the ninth. And, that was his tune-up fight for Usyk, and then he lost to Usyk when he was 18 now. Usyk looking for win number 20. I think he's going to get it, but, you know, with that kind of knockout rate, you have to think that that's what he's going to be going for.
I mean, Usyk can't make a mistake. That's for sure.
In his early days, he was getting his knockouts early, too. The latest one he got in his
That's what makes it a good fight.
Bunch of fights was 7th round against Dylan White, who was 16-0 at the time. White. And then another one, Dominic Breazeale, who was 17-0 in 2016, but he was getting them in the first 4 rounds for the most part, almost right up until Klitschko. A couple fighters took a beat. Klitschko took him real deep. So he's got the puncher's chance, so to speak. But, yeah, that's just one of the blockbuster fights going on. There's somebody Zoe's got to go fight in the co-main event. Philippe Hrgovic, 14-0, and Zhilei Zhang, a heavyweight. Zhilei is 24-0-1. So somebody's always got to go there. That's a double heavyweight matchup on the zone. And then we got...
What do you think, Tony? What's your call on that one?
Silence. It's consulting his
Somebody
crystal
was going to
ball.
go, I'll tell you that. No, it's going to be a draw.
It'll be a draw.
Yeah, no, I have to look into that one more in depth to give you a better. Let me do that. Someone's emailing me, asking me questions. Why do they always ask me questions?
Bergovic is ranked number 37 in the division. Zhilei Zhang is ranked number 19, by the way. Statistics.
You know what? If you go back, now Zhang's last fight, he looked good, but I hate this new box rec. I don't know if I told you that.
Bergovic has 12 knockouts, 14 wins. Let's see the toughest fighter he's faced. Let's see. Toughest fighter he's faced would probably have to be recently. 22-0 Marko Radonjic, who I've never really heard of. We retired him in the third. I don't know how many knockouts Radonjic had. Also, Rydell Booker was 26-3 when he fought him just before that in November of 2020. He TKO'd him in the fifth in Hollywood, Florida, I believe, at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Yeah, that's Florida. That was for the IBF International Heavyweight title.
Okay, so let me take a look at this one here. You know, this looking at the full card. I mean, you know, bad looking card. I mean, okay, we got Usyk and Joshua main event. Now I can't tell you much about the but no, but I can't really tell you much I know about. Now Zhang, I can tell you about. You know, and everybody looked good. One punch knockout. But if you go back to that fight where it was a draw, the only real blemish on his record, that fight was one more round. He gets knocked out. Yeah. So his last fight back in May knocked out Scott Alexander, 1 round, 1 punch. But this fight against Jerry Forrest, February 2021. I mean, he had Forrest down in the first 3 rounds. And it was still a draw. What's that telling you? That in the last few rounds, he took a tremendous beating. And if it would have been one more round, Forrest would have knocked him out. So Zhang, who's a big guy, he was 276 pounds his last fight.
He has not really fought many famous fighters, though.
No, he hasn't. And he's southpaw. He's 6'6". He's a big guy.
Andrei Rudenko was probably the biggest, toughest guy he's faced. That was a unanimous decision win in 2019. He was 32-4. And yeah, Jerry Forrest was the best one after that. He's slowly going down in wins. His last fighter had 16 wins. He KO'd him in the first. So, I don't know. Got back to TKOing people in the last couple of fights because they were sub-20 win fighters after drawing with Jerry Forrest. Guy with the most experience he ever fought was probably Galen Brown here at 44-35 with 1 draw back in 2016. And my high school city at the Marina Bay Sportsplex in Quincy. He TKO'd him in the second round. Earlier days. Yeah, back when I lived there, they didn't have boxing. Marina Bay. Anyway, Callum Smith also on the card. He is 28-1 at light heavyweight, fighting Matthew Bauderleek, which I've never heard of. I don't know who he is. what he's all about, what's going on. Probably gonna lose. Somebody's one's got to go there. That's the top 3 fights on the DAZN card. I don't have the entire lineup next to me, or in front of me, because I picked the 3-star and above option on BoxRec. So it only gives me the good fights. So that's one thing I do like about the lineup. I just wish they would tell me the fucking knockouts without having to click on the people. Anyway, ESPN Plus, we've got a main event on Saturday of Emmanuel Navarrete, 35-1 against Eduardo Baez, who is 21-2. That one's for the WBO World Featherweight title. Navarrete is ranked number 4 in the division. Baez number 20. And then we've got double somebody's those got to goes. Welterweight and super lightweight. Giovanni Santillan, looking for win number 30. He's 29-0. Fighting Julio Luna Avila, who is 19-0-2 at welterweight. So that should be a good one. Santillan ranked number 23 and Avila ranked number 48. He's got 10 more wins. Santillan and Avila. And then we've got Landolfo Delgado. He is ranked number 132 in the division, even though he's 15-0. Fighting Omar Alejandro Aguilar, who is 24-0 and ranked number 44 in the division. So that should be a good card there. And if that's not enough fighting on Saturday for you, we have.
And don't forget on that card, we have Nico Ali Walsh, Ali's grandson.
Oh, wow, there we go. That's why we have the boxing ring man.
I just found that one on BoxRec. And I remember they were talking about him last week. You know, I mean, he's a decent young fighter. But that's got to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That's got to be a lot of pressure. You know, I mean, that's maybe the most famous name in boxing history.
Yeah.
That'd be like, hey, I'm Babe Ruth's grandson. So, you know, lining up, you know, for my major league debut. You know, every camera's on you, and so, you know, that's a shining bright spotlight you got to be under.
Right. Showtime fights. We've got 3 title fights in a row. Main event: Roger Gutierrez, 26-3-1. Against Hector Luis Garcia, who's 15-0 for the WBA World Super Featherweight title. So how can a guy 15-0 at super lightweight be ranked number 132? The guy who's 15-0 at super featherweight be ranked number 7. I don't know how this shit works. That's crazy.
You know what? It's funny you ask something like that. Because I was one day reading about a guy who had to quit because it was so much stress. How this guy that he was doing rankings, and I forget where I got the article from. I forget it. Magazine or maybe Scully sent it to me. Who sent it to me? But this guy, you know, he was doing like independent rankings. Every fight match in the world basically was sending them tapes to their fighters. So it was like, all day and all night was watch fights. And then it got to the point it was like, it ended up, you know, just almost driving them to so it's like, now looking at the point you just mentioned, you got, you know, Roger Gutierrez, he's 26, and it says, you know, the rank not available. But then you have, at the main event, you have Omar Figueroa Jr. and Sergey Lipinets. The Lipinets is coming off that, you know, destructive loss with Boots Ennis. Figueroa is coming with 2 losses, but it both says not available for them. Well, you know that's got to be a typo because these guys have been around. These guys are fighting the main event in a 12-round fight. So, Botrek is, maybe lacking a little bit here.
Right. Yeah. 132. This guy's ranked at 15. I mean, obviously there must be something to do with quality of opposition involved if it's done professionally, but sometimes it just shows itself for what it is. 15-0 Landolfo Delgado, okay, on the ESPN card. He is ranked number 132. Hector Luis Garcia is in the main event on the Showtime card. He's also the same record, 15-0. He's ranked number 7 in his division. We're talking about not much difference in weight either. Super featherweight and super lightweight. So, that's crazy. Crazy difference. But anyway, we've got another good co-main event there. I don't know if it's co-main event or just another 3-star fight, so I shouldn't say that. But we got another title on the line. WBA World Super Lightweight title vacant. Is going to go to either Albert Puello, who is 20-0, or Botirzon Akhmedov, who's just 9-1 at super lightweight. And his ranking is not available. Tony said. Roger Gutierrez not available. Omar Figueroa Jr. also on the card. He is 28-2-1, fighting Sergey Lipinets, who is 16-2-1 for the WBC Silver Super Lightweight title. And both of those guys have not available rankings. I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, and this is somebody's got to get back on the winning streak because Lipinets is a draw and a loss in his last 2 fights, and Figueroa has 2 losses in his last 2 fights. So this is somebody has got to go of their last few fights.
Yeah, Brandon Lee also on the fight card. 25-0, and he's fighting Will Madera, who is 17-1-3.
You figure, Omar Figueroa was on the streak. He was 28-0, and then you get a division loss to Eugenio Zudas, where he lost almost every round, and then he got stopped by Abel Ramos. Stopped in his corner after 6, and he had lost every round of that fight. And I remember watching that one, and I remember after that fight was over, even the referee, even the announcers are like, stop it, because he was going to take a lot of punishment. And then you have Lipinets there, had that, loss to Dennis in 6 rounds, where he was down twice and taking a pretty good beating, and then he had and Castillo Clayton, and Clayton was 18-0. Bruce Dennis turned around, knocked him out in 1 round or 2 rounds. So not a tremendous road beater there, and Lipinets struggled in that fight. And 2 guys, the back 9, as they said, trying to put the other one to the clubhouse and resurrect themselves for 1 or 2 more rounds.
Right. I'm just looking for the BKFC. That's also in London. BKFC 27. So Michael Venom Page is going to be in his home country, fighting Mike Perry. Anything about all these other guys. Unfortunately, they're only giving us last names here on the Bareknuckle TV page. We got Tierney versus Elmore, Terrell versus Shoemaker, Lilly versus Goodjohn. None of these guys I've heard of. I've actually heard of Shoemaker from the very first one. That's probably the biggest names in the whole thing, Page and Perry. How about this one? Hick versus Shepard. It's the Hick versus the Shepherd. There's your Jesus fight of the week. Shepherd instead of the Jesus. We've got Professional Fighters League. That's also going on in London. I don't know how they're going to do it. They're going to do it. With all the time differences and everything, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be just straight fights. 6 a.m. you're going to wake up. You're going to be fights on. 6 a.m. the next day, if you stay up that late, you're still going to be fights on. You're going to be watching fights that you recorded because they were on the same time as the other fights. Kayla Harrison in the main event in this one. 22 playoffs. She has been storming through the ranks again. She's going to fight Martina Jendrova, who's 6-2. Kayla is 14-0. Fine there. And then Chris Wade, 22-7 at featherweight, fighting Brendan Loughnane, who's 23-4. I wonder if she's related to Ferdy, but probably not. Larissa Pacheco, she is 17-4 at lightweight, fighting Helena Kolesnik, who is 7-4. And I got featherweights Ryoji Kudo, who is 11-3-1, fighting Bubba Jenkins, who's 18-5. Dakota Ditcheva, who is 5-0 at flyweight, fighting Hasna Gaber, who's 4-1. We got light heavyweights Simeon Powell, 6-0, and Nemanja Uverik, who's 11-5. We got Marcin Held, 27-9 at lightweight, fighting Miles Price, who's 11-9. And Louis Sutherland at heavyweight is 4-0, fighting Abraham Babley, or Babley, I don't know how to pronounce that. 1-0. And you got Teo Odunjo, 4-1 at welterweight, fighting Magnus Onika Iverson, who's 2-0. Ali Taleb at bantamweight, fighting Kenji Bordaluzzi, who's 11-4. Ali is 7-0. Zabenzui Ruiz, 10-3 at featherweight, fighting Rafael Uchegbu, who's 6-0. And then we got Stuart Austin, 15-8 at heavyweight, fighting Sofiane Bukichu at 9-4. And first fight of the night is Omar Hussein Abu Farah, who is 9-3, fighting Alexander Shizov, who is 9-1. A lot of heavyweights in this whole tournament thing. Playoffs continue, and that's about it. Big boxing lineups. What happened last week in boxing? We have not talked about that. What did I miss?
Well, I mean, any of it. Well, we had the one card on Saturday night, and one of those cards I was like, I had to pop a 5-hour energy drink at 6 o'clock to make sure I'm staying awake for it. Yeah. So, you know, the thing is, always like I used to be such a night owl. But now it's like I'm so conditioned up early. Like even when like my days off, like I'll wake up early, and then I'll go to the gym or I'll work out. Not on my. If I don't get a nap during the day, I'm screwed at night time. I'm like by 11 o'clock, it's like I'm all but out. See if I can find the date on the air.
Let's hit the 3-star on the results. Let's see what we get. Submit. Submit that shit. Teofimo Lopez.
Oh yeah, it was
Pedro Campa. I did watch a little bit of that.
Yeah, it was the Virgil Ortiz fight. I definitely had to stay up to watch that one.
I watched that a little bit, and that was just a matter of feeling each other out early, and then Teofimo Lopez just took control. And he was flashy about it. He was just right in Ciampa's face, and was throwing shots, taunting him. Ciampa was not going to win that fight, whether it went the other 3 rounds or not, but one of the announcers there was going off on the referee for stopping the fight early, and Ciampa really didn't even protest that bad. I mean, he might have not been that badly hurt, but I mean, styles make fights, like they say, and Styles was making that fight impossible for Ciampa to win at that point. So, and it's one of those things, like the one with Herb Dean a few weeks ago. The guy was murdering the other dude, and you know, yeah, sure, the guy got right up after being knocked down, but I mean, he wasn't throwing punches back, and it wasn't going to be long till he was back in the same position. And same could be said for Ciampa. I don't have a problem with that stoppage at all. And Teofimo Lopez looked pretty decent. Got the job done. Not his best early on, but definitely made the right adjustments and weathered the early shots. And figured out that Ciampa couldn't hurt him. And that was just downhill from there. Also on the same card, we had Andres Cortez staying undefeated over Abraham Montoya. Cortez 17-0, Montoya 20-3 with 1 draw. And it's telling me the only other 3-star fight last Saturday was Fazlidin Gaidnazarov, who was 9-1. And he fought Jaider Para, who was 33-3-1, and we don't even know what happened. It's just a question mark. I don't even know where it is, because these idiots don't put the country when it's foreign. And they don't even put the country when it's the United States, except for the flag. So this was in Humo Arena, Tashkent, wherever the fuck that is. The flag, you can tell if it's in the United States, usually. Las Vegas, yeah, that's the United States. But I don't know where that was. It's just a question mark. 1 week later, they don't know what happened. Box rec, it's going downhill. It's bad. It's bad. If we do the little 2-star thing, if we get any more 2 stars. Results. Will give us the 2-star results. We'll be here for days. We're going back to Friday. Alright, Saturday. What else do we have? We had Ihor Shevadzutsky staying undefeated against Kevin Johnson. 9-0 against 35-19 with 1 draw in Hamburg, Germany. That's a heavyweight fight. And we had Wesley Ferrer in Orlando. Improved to 17-1-1 against Jason Velez, who falls to 30 wins, 9 losses, and 1 draw. That was on the same card. Nope, different card. It has the Lopez fight. Also on the Lopez card, though, we had an 8-rounder, Enrique Vivas, improving to 22-2 with a split decision win over Edie Valencia Mercado. Falls to 19-8-6. And this one they showed on that card, same card, Xander Zayas, who is 13-0, fighting Elias Espadas, who was 22-4. WBO, NABO Super Welterweight.
Xander's a pretty good prospect.
Yeah, he looked really good. He got the TKO on the 5th.
Yeah, he did. He really did. And, I mean, you figure he's 13-0 now. And he's been moving up. He's been, this was a fight that was scheduled for 8 rounds, but he took the spot out in 5. And we're talking about a relatively young kid here. He's 19 years old, and he's already got 14 pro fights, 10 knockouts. One of the guys to beat was the Dan Carpenter. He stopped him in 4 rounds back in about a year ago in 2021. he hasn't fought any great fighters yet. But look at the guys he fought. You have a guy 8-1-1, 6-1, 11-3, 11-1. These are guys that he's been beating. And I mean, the one with 1-1, he won every round on every card.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed when I found out that his first name wasn't spelled with a Z. It was an X. I was pissed because I was like, oh man, he could have had the perfect nickname for a boxer. Instead of ZZ Top, he could have been ZZ Box. And XZ Box doesn't quite work. I saw when they kept showing his last name, Zayas, and they kept calling him Xander. I was like, oh man, he should be called ZZ Box. That should be his nickname. And nope, it's X. Like Zions. You don't like Z sounds with X's, do we? I wonder if he drinks Zenergy. Xander drinks Zenergy. There you go. Yeah. The science people got out of MMA, but I don't think they would stay away from boxing if they could get a guy like that on their roster for sponsorship. Xander drinks science. Energy drink. Yeah, here we go. I'll make peace with the new people over there, and I'll say, hey, I got a guy for you guys. Alright, so I guess that's it. I don't have any other big stories except, I don't know if it's a rumor or just something I saw in passing, but I did notice there have been some reports that people have seen Mike Tyson in a wheelchair. Don't know the backstory on it.
What?
Yeah. I have not done any
I don't know the backstory either.
investigative reporting.
I mean, because you look at it, he actually, that fight with Roy Jones was less than 2 years ago, and Mike Tyson was not that bad. But you never know. Well, I mean, you could have a degenerative in your back. But then again,
I broke my back.
You know, I broke my back. Mike Tyson broke his back in that fight, remember?
Yeah.
I had a back injury flare up on me a few weeks ago at a Phillies game. And when it was over, I was walking out of there, and I was like, man, you're really struggling. I'm like, yeah, my back is really hurting from an old 1995 boxing injury, and it flared up. And then it was feeling better. I started running again 10 days later. That weekend, it flared up again in another game. And then I started doing some stretching. So if I lay flat on my back and I take my left leg and I stretch it over my right leg and try to touch the ground, I can. If I do the same thing and try to take my right leg and stretch it over my left leg and touch the ground, I can't. It feels like a knife is going like right in my lower back. So I've been trying to do where I can pull my knees to my chest, both, and then one at a time. I'm doing some of the DDP moves that I got from his yoga, all different things. And then the other day, I was out for a morning jog, and what I'm doing now is getting ready for the Rocky run in November. Around this time is when I start my running program. So my running on the street program, not my treadmill program. My running on the street program, I'll start at like half-mile increments. You know, I'm not a runner. And I'll do like a half mile, and I'll go down, and then I'll walk, and I'll walk up the hill, and then the last half mile home, I run telephone poles. So I'll do one telephone pole, walk one, run one, walk one. Then I'll run two, walk one. And when I was out running on Tuesday, it looked like I was a 90-year-old man, and I felt like it. So I went home, and I moved a few things around in my basement, and I broke out the old inversion table that I had, and I hadn't used them in a while. And I used to have it on where it wasn't straight up and down, like a 12-6, because I'd never liked that. I'd have it more like down to like the 4 or 5 o'clock number. But unfortunately, somebody was on it one time, and they put it where it's straight up and down, and I don't know how to fix it back. So I said, you know what, fuck it. I'm just doing the straight up and down. And I got in that, and then after about 1 minute, I heard a pop. It sounded like a shotgun blast went off. I got off that thing, I felt like 2 inches taller. And I don't feel 100%, but I feel a hell of a lot better. I've been using it every day for the last few days. I feel a hell of a lot better. So, I mean, could Mike have that system like that? Would put him in a wheelchair?
Well,
absolutely.
I went to the source.
2 weeks ago, I felt like in a wheelchair.
I did my research, and the first article that popped up was from the Hindustan Times. It must be an Indian paper.
Well, you know, obviously.
But it says that this was at the Miami airport that he was seen in a wheelchair. It was not the traditional type wheelchair. It was one of them airport wheelchair things. And he's being pushed around by an airport staffer.
You know what?
And he has a walking stick.
And you know what?
And it says sciatica is the reason, and it's not serious.
Wheelchairs can be somewhat, and airports can be somewhat bullshit too, because my parents went on a vacation a few months ago, and to get through customs faster when they went to Jamaica, they signed my dad up saying my dad has bad knees, or he's going to need a knee replacement, but they said something, whatever, and they got my dad a wheelchair because they didn't have to, stand in the long line through customs. They got wheeled up to a priority. So, is there a playing in the game? Yeah, Mike will be playing in the game. But before we go, you have one question where I need your guys' opinion. We don't need a definite answer because I still got some time. So I got about 6 weeks to do this over. I got a wedding I'm going to on October 1st, Rich's birthday. Rich, I'm celebrating your birthday. We got a wedding.
Nice.
So my cousin doesn't want me to, do anything out of control. So of course I'm going to. I asked her, very interested, what's the theme colors of your wedding? She told me the exact shade of green, which I didn't need to know, and gold, which I did need to know. I said, okay, I'll wear my sequin gold tuxedo jacket. Well, I don't want you to do that. And the wedding, no, then I'm going to wear it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to wear my sequin gold tuxedo jacket, black slacks, black fedora, and metallic gold high tops. All very classy. Now, here is the question. For the shirt-tie combo, do I go with a white shirt and black sequin tie with the gold jacket, black slacks, and gold shoes? Or do I go with a black shirt, gold sequin tie with the gold jacket? I got to make sure the tie is somewhat matched, though, the shades of gold. But I'm thinking, what would look better? The white shirt, the black sequin tie, and the gold jacket, or the black shirt, gold tie, and gold jacket? What do you got?
I like the two gold and the black shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of like that too. I'm on Etsy and Dazzle right now looking at them. That's what I was doing when you guys called in. That's why, like I said, I got about 6 weeks. I don't have to rush and get something chintzy and cheap. I looked at this one, it says, hey, golden glitter necktie. I'm like, hey, this looks great. Then it's a pattern. It's not actual sequence. I said, well, that ain't going to work. The Tornado's a classy guy here.
Nice. All right.
But, you know me. No matter what I do, it'll be something ridiculous.
No. Never. All right, well, till next week, I suppose that's all we have. I'm just casually looking through my Google alerts. See if
we got a long game Saturday with a lot of fighting.
Let's get a good night's sleep Friday night. We're going to need it.
Yeah, geez.
Right.
Get your DVR ready.
All right, guys.
Freak's sake.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Let's enjoy them.
I don't want to steal Tom's line, but enjoy the fights.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
No cheap dates this weekend. Another Tom line. All right, till next week. Thanks for stopping by. Adios.